everybody, it's me, Steve Schnee, and you are watching the CD Junkie. I'm in transition here. I'm not moving, but I'm moving things around. So I've got boxes of CDs, stacks of CDs, step stool to get up on top of the shelf, more stacks of CDs. And it made me start thinking, like, the 80s is my favorite time period of music. And for me, the 80s is basically 78, 77, 78 to about 86 at the latest. And there's so much great music. I pull stuff off the shelf and it reminds, it's like looking at photo album. Oh, there's a picture of, me and my dad, and there's a picture of my mom and dad. And instead, I'm looking at album covers saying, oh my gosh, I remember when I went on a date with this girl, or I used to get beat up after school with this album, that kind of stuff. But the thing is there's so many great memories. So, I started thinking that, a lot of people hate the 80s, but there are a lot of people that are getting into the 80s. And so I was thinking, why don't I just randomly grab 10 great albums from the 80s that I think that people will like. They are not necessarily my favorite albums by these particular artists, but I believe that they are albums that if you wanted to start building an 80s music collection, these are great albums to start with. I've also decided on this particular episode only to choose artists that were very well known. Remember, I'm showing CDs because I am the CD junkie. This is stuff that I bought on vinyl. So this is stuff that you're going to be able to find on vinyl. Forget about the format. Just focus on the music. So let's start with just these 10. So let's start these 10 albums, no particular order. I love all these albums equally. We're going to start with Gang of Four, Entertainment. If you love angular post-punk, sometimes it sounds violent, sometimes it sounds angry, sometimes it sounds passionate, but it's just a fantastic album. This is like post-punk funk, and it's a classic, legendary album. Another one, a band called Split Enz. This is their big album, where I prefer maybe the album before this and the album after it. This is still solid, wonderful. This is the album with the song I Got You, which was their big worldwide hit. And this particular version here is the 40th anniversary, but you're probably going to be able to find, an American pressing or vinyl or something. This is great. This is pop. They've already moved away from the art rock sound of the early days. And this is them embracing a more commercial sound. Neil Finn, of course, really steps up as a singer-songwriter on this album, sharing the spotlight with his brother Tim. It's a real solid album, though. It's a lot of great songs. There is kind of a punky-sounding Shark Attack, but then the rest of the album is pop. It's glorious. It's multi-layered. Great musicians. If you're a fan of synth-pop, now I could have picked Depeche Mode. I could have picked a lot of bands, but I decided that I wanted to go with Yazoo upstairs at Eric's. There is a Depeche Mode connection here. Vince Clarke, who was keyboard player, main songwriter on the first Depeche Mode album, Speak and Spell, he left that band and he formed Yazoo with a vocalist by the name of Alison Moyet. This is just great synth-pop, but it's also very experimental too. There's some tracks here where they're trying new things, where it's not just straightforward boop bop boop it up bop boop bop. It's got some other great wonderful things. Now this was out in the UK as Yazoo. In America they were known as Yaz, and the album's slightly different. Situation was a B-side, but they added it to the American album. I think the American one is actually better because of the song Situation. Now, if you want commercial, just great commercial 80s pop, a lot of people are going to be surprised that I'm choosing this album here to showcase. But like I said, this is sort of an introduction to 80s. So I'm choosing the more popular bands in my collection. The first Madonna album is wonderful, chock full of great, fantastic pop music. It's the album with like Holiday, Lucky Star, Burning Up. Yeah. Oh, now let's go all the way to England, and we are going to talk about one of my favorite albums of all time by one of my favorite bands of all time. This is a band that I talked about and I still continue to talk about. This is Squeeze. I believe that this is their best album, but it's tied with RG Bargy, which is the album before it. This is fantastic. This is the album with Tempted. This album was produced by Roger Bashirian and Elvis Costello. There's one song produced by Dave Edmunds, but this is just solid. A lot of variety in there. If you love sophisticated, well-played music, then definitely check out The Fix. This is called Reach the Beach. This is a fantastic album. This and the first one called Shuttered Room are probably my two favorites. This is very sophisticated, well played, produced by Rupert Hine. He brings everything together. The band works so well together. They're very unique. They're very different, but the songs are incredible. Back in the 80s, there's a whole ska thing. I was going to pick something by Madness or the Specials, but I thought maybe the most immediate, the most lovable album on first listen would be The English Beat, I Just Can't Stop It. This is the album with Mirror in the Bathroom. You know, you can get different versions of this. They were known as the Beat in the UK. They were known as the English Beat in America. And the English Beat version, the one in America, adds Tears of a Clown. But everything else, this is just solid. Now, this is like an expanded edition. I mean, you can track that down, or you can just get the regular thing, or you can pick it up on vinyl. It doesn't matter. If you love soul, catchy, blue-eyed soul made by white British boys, I say you should definitely check out Spandau Ballet True. In fact, the song True sometimes is my favorite song of all time. And the album version is a minute longer than the single version. I can't listen to the single version. I need this full album version. It's incredible. The song True is wonderful. The album True by Spandau Ballet is wonderful. Then I started thinking, well, I got to throw some kind of pop punk in there. And my first inclination was to jump to the Ramones' Road to Ruin. Then I thought, well, maybe for one title, I'll sort of mix things up a little bit. And I'm going to talk about the debut album by the Undertones. I remember reading about them and it calling them the Irish Ramones. And when you put this on, you'll know that comparison becomes very, very plain. Incredible pop album. Just chock full of great 2-minute songs, great hooks. This is the original UK cover, but when I bought the album, is either that cover or that cover. So the American covers is the ones that I prefer. This is just, it's the same album, but two different covers, you know, like I said, European and American. Incredible, great punky pop. The last album I'm going to talk about is an album that I feel defines the 80s. It's probably one of my favorite 80s albums, period. Definitely my favorite album by this group. And this has it all. This has hooks. This has synths, if you love synth. It has a post-punk sound. It's got a unique guitar sound. It's got everything that you want in an album and more. This is the debut album from A Flock of Seagulls. This is the album with Iran. This is the album with Space Age Love Song. It's got Modern Love is Automatic. It's got Messages. Oh my gosh. This here is a 3 CD version that has a bunch of bonus tracks, as you can tell. Really, really incredible. The 80s was such an exciting period because all of these albums I talked about, you can play them side by side and they are all very different from each other. But the thing that holds them together is great songs, great songwriting, great performances. That's it for this episode. Do you have any of these albums? Do any of these albums turn you on or turn you off? I will be making more videos like this, just talking about 80s music, making suggestions, or just reminding people of such a wonderful decade. These are my personal choices for this first video. I have many others. Look, these aren't the only 10 albums that I think define the 80s. Like I said, I've got tons to recommend. I thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring that bell for future notifications. And until the next time, remember me. I'm Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie.